what I had to say, and I was convinced, but not this year. This year, my family and I were convinced that we were going to stay here, that we were going to stay in our house, which was exactly what we wanted the most, without a doubt, and there was no doubt in our minds about it. Our top priority is always our well-being, being in the comfort of our home, and continuing to savor the life we have in the vibrant city of Barcelona, both through engaging in sports and embracing the beauty of everyday life, which is truly remarkable and fills us with joy. However, on this day, I find myself compelled to bid a heartfelt farewell to this cherished aspect of my life that has brought me so much joy and fulfillment. As mentioned earlier, for many years, my entire life here, I arrived at a very young age, 13 years old when I first came. Following a span of 21 years, I am departing alongside my spouse, accompanied by 3 individuals from Argentina who identify as Catalans. I couldn't be prouder of everything I did and experienced in this city, which I have no doubt that after being away for a few years, we will return, because it is our home, because I also promised it to my children. And nothing. I am grateful for everything I have experienced. To my teammates, to my former teammates, to all the people from the club, those who were by our side and those we don't see, which are many. We cross paths very few times. I was brought up with the values of this club. I consistently endeavored to handle myself with humility, respect, and that is precisely how I conducted myself with every single person in this household. I hope that is what remains of me, of the luck I had to live and give many things to the club that meant so much to me. I had numerous beautiful experiences, as well as some negative ones, but all of those experiences contributed to my personal growth, continuous improvement, and the person I have become today. I sacrificed everything for this club, for this shirt, starting from the day I first arrived and continuing until the very end. In all honesty, I must admit that I am truly and completely satisfied with the outcome of the situation. Thanks for the love from the people as usual. I enjoyed bidding farewell in a unique manner. I never envisaged my farewell because I didn't ponder it, but I do not think I would have imagined it in this way, or anticipated it to unfold in such a manner. I had a great time doing it with individuals in the countryside, being able to hear one last ovation from them, and experiencing their final affection. I missed you greatly during this entire pandemic period when we couldn't play with an audience, and I missed the feeling of being able to have you close, the support, celebrating a goal with them, hearing an ovation that resounded in my name. Now, as I retire from this club without having witnessed it, it has been over a year and a half. The truth is, if I had imagined this situation, I would have pictured it with the stadium full, being able to be close to the people and properly bid them farewell. However, it unfolded in this way, and I reiterate my gratitude for all the love throughout these years. We have experienced both wonderful and challenging moments, but the unwavering love from the people has always remained. I always sensed it. I sensed the recognition, the love, as I also sensed it. And this club will remain like this for the entirety of my life. I hope to be able to rejoin this club in the future, in any capacity that may be possible for me at that time. I am hopeful that I can make a valuable contribution in order to ensure that this club perseveres in delivering its utmost and maintains its position as the premier club in the world. I do not know. In all likelihood at this moment, I have forgotten a lot of things I wanted to say. But well, That is what I am able to say right now. I am not in a good state to think and have the words come out. The best thing is that we move on to the question and answer session. And again, simply thanks to everyone.
My biggest memories of Harvard came in January 1975, when I made a call from Courier House to a company in Albuquerque, New Mexico, that had begun making the world's first personal computer. I offered to sell them software. I worried they would realize I was just a student in a dorm and hang up on me. Instead, they said, "We're not quite ready. Come see us in a month," which was a good thing because we hadn't written the software yet. From that moment, I worked day and night on the extra credit project that marked the end of my college education and the beginning of a remarkable journey with Microsoft. What I remember above all about Harvard was being in the midst of so much energy and intelligence. It could be exhilarating, intimidating, sometimes even discouraging, but always challenging. It was an amazing privilege, and though I left early, I was transformed by my years at Harvard, the friendships I made, and the ideas I worked on. But taking a serious look back, I do have one big regret. I left Harvard with no real awareness of the awful inequities in the world, the appalling disparities of health and wealth and opportunity that condemn millions of people to lives of despair. I learned a lot here at Harvard about new ideas in economics and politics. I got great exposure to the advances being made in the sciences. But humanity's greatest advances are not in its discoveries, but in how those discoveries are applied to reduce inequity. Whether through democracy, strong public education, quality health care, or broad economic opportunity, reducing inequity is the highest human achievement. I left campus knowing little about the millions of young people cheated out of educational opportunities here in this country. And I knew nothing about the millions of people living in unspeakable poverty and disease in developing countries. It took me decades to find out. You graduates came to Harvard at a different time. You know more about the world's inequities than the classes that came before. In your years here, I hope you've had a chance to think about how, in this age of accelerating technology, we can finally take on these inequities and we can solve them. Imagine, just for the sake of discussion, that you had a few hours a week and a few dollars a month to donate to a cause. And you wanted to spend that time and money where it would have the greatest impact in saving and improving lives. Where would you spend it? For Melinda and I, the challenge is the same. How can we do the most good for the greatest number with the resources we have? During our discussions on this question, Melinda and I read an article about the millions of children who are dying every year in poor countries from diseases that we had long ago made harmless in this country: measles, malaria, pneumonia, hepatitis B, yellow fever. One disease that I had never heard of, rotavirus, was killing 500,000 children each year, none of them in the United States. We were shocked. We had assumed that if millions of children were dying and they could be saved, the world would make it a priority to discover and deliver the medicines to save them. But it did not. For under $1, there were interventions that could save lives that just weren't being delivered. If you believe that every life has equal value, it's revolting to learn that some lives are seen as worth saving and others are not. We said to ourselves, this can't be true, but if it is true, it deserves to be the priority of our giving. So we began our work in the same way anyone here would begin it.
It will be from my heart. Walking around this Tea Hub building this afternoon could not but help me feel that I was looking at a new face of India, one of the new faces of India. The face of entrepreneurship, innovation, and enterprise. Entrepreneurship and the sense of enterprise is not new in India. We're a nation of people who have been shopkeepers, small cottage industry managers and owners. We have done this over the years. We have been entrepreneurs, be it in agriculture, be it in traditional industries. And yet we have not been recognized all over the world as an enterprising country. Is registered ourselves as an entrepreneurial nation in the new technologies of the world. The technologies that don't require billions of dollars to establish, that don't require hundreds of acres to build. Enterprises that are built on innovation that's in your mind, non-traditional, untried, and sometimes risky, but that make a big, big difference in the world of tomorrow. This is what elevated the United States in the 80s into a new world of technology and high tech. It changed the way we live. It changes what we hold in our hands in terms of phones, communication. And yet India has only been a part of it through people who left India and gone elsewhere. And why? Because the environment here didn't support them. I grew up in an environment where if you had an idea, your boss or your manager politely told you, and sometimes not so politely, that you need to gain some experience before you open your mouth. You need to roll up your sleeves and spend 5 years on the shop floor. Then you can talk. And that's not what enterprise is today. Enterprise today is an ability of someone who may be in his 20s, who has a good idea, and he needs to find a way to implement them. We now have an environment of venture capital that listens to that person, and we have a facility like this to enable that person to try out his idea, to bring it into reality or fruition in a manner that is interdisciplinary, open, and unifying. So this is, in fact, the first look at the new India of tomorrow. Tomorrow, day after tomorrow, etc. Not only in e-commerce, not only in e-retailing, etc., but in the exciting area of medical remedies, medical treatment, stem cells, life sciences, and this can be the starting point of that new wave. And so it's a great privilege to be here today. This is an area that needs all of our support and needs for us to be proud of what we have, but it needs for us to be keen to not be satisfied with what we have, but to go further and to be leaders in the world, not in the country alone. So my enthusiasm in the new India of tomorrow continues to be there. I continue to feel the need to support enterprising young Indian engineers and scientists. And all of us should be very pleased to play this role and need to support this, because all of us should be keen to unleash the Indian tiger. And we haven't done that as yet. So let's all put our hearts and souls behind the fact that this is going to be the new India of tomorrow. And what we're seeing in this building is just the start, just a nucleus of what could be the new big thing in the country. And thank you very much for
Now, I'm going to give you a story. It's an Indian story about an Indian woman and her journey. Let me begin with my parents. I'm a product of this visionary mother and father. Many years ago, when I was born in the 50s and 60s didn't belong to girls in India. They belonged to boys. They belonged to boys who would join business and inherit business from parents, and girls would be dolled up to get married. My family in my city, and almost in the country, was unique. We were 4 of us, not one, and fortunately no boys. We were 4 girls and no boys. And my parents were part of a landed property family. My father defied his own grandfather, almost to the point of disinheritance, because he decided to educate all 4 of us. He sent us to one of the best schools in the city and gave us the best education. As I've said, when we're born, we don't choose our parents. And when we go to school, we don't choose our school. Children don't choose the school. They just get the school which parents choose for them. So this is the foundation time which I got. I grew up like this, and so did my other 3 sisters. And my father used to say at that time, I'm going to spread all my 4 daughters in 4 corners of the world. I don't know whether he really meant, but it happened. I'm the only one who's left in India. 1 is a British, another is an American, and the 3rd is a Canadian. So we are 4 of us in 4 corners of the world. And since I said they're my role models, I followed 2 things which my father and mother gave me. 1, they said, life is on an incline. You either go up or you come down. And second thing which has stayed with me, which became my philosophy of life, which made all the difference, is 100 things happen in your life, good or bad. Out of 100, 90 are your creation. They're good, they're your creation. Enjoy it. If they're bad, they're your creation. Learn from it. 10 are nature sent, over which you can't do a thing. It's like a death of a relative, or a cyclone, or a hurricane, or an earthquake. You can't do a thing about it. You've got to just respond to the situation. But that response comes out of those 90 points. Since I'm a product of this philosophy of 90-10, and secondly, life on an incline, that's the way I grew up. I grew up to be valuing what I got. I'm a product of opportunities, rare opportunities in the 50s and the 60s, which girls didn't get. And I was conscious of the fact that what my parents were giving me was something unique, because all my best school friends were getting dolled up to get married with a lot of dowry. And here I was with a tennis racket and going to school and doing all kinds of extracurricular activities. I thought I must tell you this. Why I said this is the background. This is what comes next. I joined the Indian Police Service as a tough woman, a woman with indefatigable stamina, because I used to run for my tennis titles, etc. But I joined the Indian Police Service. And then it was a new pattern of policing. For me, the policing stood for power to correct, power to prevent, and power to detect. This is something like a new definition ever given in policing in India, the power to prevent. Because normally it was always said power to detect, and that's it, or power to punish. But I decided, no, it's a power to prevent, because that's what I learned when I was growing up. How do I prevent the 10 and never make it more than 10? So this is how it came into my service, and it was different from